I've been watching The Young and the Restless since I was a girl curled up next to my mama on the couch. So believe me when I tell you, Friday's episode had me hollering at my television. Kyle is carrying his poisoned mother up out of a hospital basement, screaming for somebody to help him, and the halls are dead empty. I threw my hands right up in the air, and then I started laughing because after all these years, I know exactly why this show does that to us. Friday looked like it belonged to Patty. By the time those credits rolled, I understood it was really about Victor. With that man, it always is. Let me catch you up, in case your DVR let you down like mine keeps threatening to. Jack got stabbed, and he's been lying in that hospital bed fighting for his life, while the whole family paces around him. And floating through Genoa City Memorial like a bad dream is Patty Williams, Jack's first wife. The woman who has been obsessed with him since the 80s, back in town again after years shut away. On Thursday, Diane caught Patty creeping around outside Jack's room and chased her down into the basement. I was talking to my screen the whole time going, "Honey, do not corner that woman." And sure enough, Patty jabbed a syringe right into Diane's neck. Digitalis. It's a heart medication, and in the wrong dose, it will stop you cold. So Friday picks up with Kyle scooping his mother off that basement floor and hauling her upstairs in his own 2 arms. And by the end of the hour, 3 big things land on us. Jack opens his eyes. Ashley comes flying home from Paris after being gone what felt like forever. And bit by bit, this family starts to understand that every awful piece of this, the knife, the poison, all of it, traces back to somebody they never once suspected, and it wasn't Patty. Before I get to him, though, I have to talk about that hospital, because that hospital tells you everything about how this show works. Let me tell you about the logic in that hospital, because there wasn't a lick of it, and I loved every ridiculous second. Kyle is carrying Diane up out of the basement, calling out for help the entire way, and he passes nobody. Not a nurse, not a doctor, not a soul mopping a floor. I have been to hospitals. There is always somebody. He finally reaches Jack's room, still hollering his lungs out, and only then does a rolling bed magically appear and one lonely nurse wander over to check Diane's vitals. I said out loud, "Oh, so now y'all show up." And then here comes Patty. Detective Burrow and a security guard are dragging her down that same hallway in handcuffs, and she leans right over and bites the poor man on the cheek and purrs, "Kitty got sharp teeth." I cackled. I did. Jack hears the ruckus and demands they bring her to his door so he can look her in the eye one last time before they finally cart her off to booking. Now, you could pick all of this apart until the cows come home, and trust me, the comment sections did exactly that. But here is what I've made my peace with after loving this show for decades. The realism was never the reason I tuned in. Those empty hallways, those doctors who evaporate the second the drama heats up, that's the show shooing everybody off the stage, so the people who matter can stand in one quiet room and break our hearts. A busy, believable hospital would only get underfoot, so Y&R just makes it disappear. And I let it, because I know what it's clearing room for. It's clearing room for the one thing this whole show truly runs on. Who is going to answer for what they've done? And that is exactly where Victor comes in. Because answering for things is the one thing that man never seems to do. So let's talk about who is really behind Patty. It's Victor Newman. And once you sit with that, the whole story shifts under your feet. Patty didn't claw her way back into Genoa City all on her own. Victor is the one who brought her back. He wanted to destroy his brother Jack, so he reached into wherever they had that woman locked away, pulled out one of the most dangerous people this town has ever seen, and turned her loose on his own family. Now, I'll be fair, because Lord knows Victor's diehards will come for me if I'm not. He wanted to ruin Jack, not kill him. And Patty going after Diane's life was Patty going off the rails all on her own. I hear that, but I cannot let the man off the hook, because I have seen this exact movie play out before. Years back, Victor did the very same thing. He bankrolled Patty, made her over, and pointed her straight at the Abbotts to get to Jack. That plan blew up in his face too, and that time a sweet young woman ended up dead. Colleen Carlton, Tracy's daughter. I remember watching it happen and feeling sick to my stomach. And here's the part I have never been able to shake. After Colleen died, her heart was donated to Victor. That man is walking around Genoa City today, alive and lecturing everybody in sight, with that girl's heart beating inside his chest. He knew every bit of that history in his bones, and he still went and opened Patty's cage a second time. People always ask me why Victor hates Jack this much, and my honest hunch is that it's fear wearing a big, tough costume. I think somewhere deep down, Victor is scared that if Nikki were ever truly free, she might have chosen Jack and been happier for it. Jack is the one door he can never quite slam shut, and a man that frightened doesn't just walk away. He sets the whole house on fire and hands somebody else the match. And is Victor ever going to answer for it? You and I both know the answer is no. He lights the fuse, real people bleed, and come Monday, he's back at that ranch, handing out wisdom like some wounded old king. I have watched this show spend 40-some years building Victor into its greatest villain, and then wrapping him in bubble wrap so nothing ever leaves a mark. And honey, I'm about to show you just how thick that bubble wrap really is. Because while Victor is sitting at the root of a poisoning and an attempted murder, look at what everybody around him is doing. They are circling the wagons around him. Nikki just came through surgery. She had a mass pressing on her optic nerve, and they went in and took it out, and thank the good Lord it saved her. But right now, she cannot see. She's got bandages over her eyes, and she's learning how to walk across her own living room all over again. And where is she doing all this healing? The Newman Ranch. She never asked to be there. Victor decided it for her and set her up in a separate room like she's some kind of house guest. I have such a tangled up heart about Nikki and Victor. I really do. 40 years of it. But forgive me if I don't melt over this one. What I'm actually watching is a man laying down the terms of his estranged wife's recovery, while the show leans over and asks me to see it all as love. And then there's Victoria, a grown woman, and she is running herself ragged trying to get mommy and daddy back under one roof like she's 11 years old. I wanted to reach through the screen and shake her. Her mother is blind and adjusting to a whole new life, and Victoria's biggest concern is the seating chart of her parents' marriage. That right there is this whole family in a nutshell. Everything gets measured by how close you're standing to Victor, and Victor knows it too. Watch what he pulls right in the thick of all this. He hands Victoria the entire company, names her the head of Newman Enterprises, and sits Nick down on the bench, telling him to go focus on his recovery. Nick is floored. He figured he'd be running the place right alongside her. Adam's off in the corner, wondering if there's any room left for him at all. One little announcement, and Victor rewards the loyal child, benches the hurting one, and reminds every last person in that room whose hand is holding the leash. Nobody in Genoa City ever manages to hold this man accountable because he is the one who gets to decide what accountability even means. Here's the real cliffhanger, the one I actually lose sleep over. I was never truly scared Jack was going to die. Come on now. A patriarch like Jack does not die from a stab wound in the middle of July. The question that had me leaning all the way forward was whether anybody is finally going to make Victor pay. And the ending drops that little seed right in the soil. The family starts putting the pieces together, and Kyle, grieving, furious Kyle, sets his sights right where they belong, on the man who aimed Patty at his parents to begin with. In the days that follow, he comes right out and blames Victor, and he starts cooking up a plan to bring him down. He tries to pull Billy into it, and Billy wants no part of it. He even goes and sits down across from Patty in her jail cell, hunting for anything he can use. And this is the exact moment where I get thrilled and worn out all at the same time, because I have watched a whole parade of people try to take Victor Newman down over 40 years, and every single one of them face planted. I've learned to count on 3 things in this town. The doctors will disappear, the cops will be useless, and Victor will land on his feet. So Kyle looks dead into it and swears, "Not this time." Sweetheart, I have heard that line more times than I can count. When he finally squares up to Victor, my stomach already has a feeling how it tends to go, because there are 4 decades of history sitting on that scene like an anvil. A grieving son is about to take a real swing at the one man this show refuses to let fall, and I'll be watching the whole thing through my fingers, the way I always do. So underneath all the poison and the coma scare and the doctors who never bothered to show, here's what Friday really was for me. It's a man who sets the world on fire, and a family that gathers around him anyway to help him sweep up the ashes. I spent that entire hour with my eyes glued to Patty, and the whole time, right under my nose, this show was quietly telling me a Victor story. Now I truly want to hear from you, because I know good and well you've got opinions. When Kyle finally comes for Victor, does he actually land one? Or does Victor slip right out of it like he somehow always does? And if you could hand the job to just one person in Genoa City, one soul to finally make Victor answer for all of it, who are you picking? Tell me down in the comments and make your case for me. I read every single one, and I mean that.